Welcome to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. I'm your host, Bree Brown, a business mindset coach, entrepreneur, and a top competitor in a male-dominated industry. I'm a native Texan, the youngest of all brothers, and a lettuce-hating, wine-loving, curses like a sailor, recovering perfectionist. I've spent over a decade building my commission-based career, and my life's purpose is helping other women achieve the same multi-six-figure success I achieved before I was 25. I have a passion for helping women with mindset, money, and manifestation skills to help every young woman realize her full potential. If you're looking for vulnerable conversations, professional development, inspiration, or even a kick in the ass to get you motivated, you have come to the right place. Thanks for checking out the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Now let's jump right in to today's topic. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Modern Manifestation Podcast. Today's episode is going to be shorter, and there's not really a direct topic in mind, other than, if you saw the title, this is a podcast update. So I wanted to come on here today and just tell you guys where I'm at currently and where I'm thinking of going with this show. So the first thing I'm going to say about that is that I will be taking a little vacation from my podcast for the summer. So if you're tuning in April of 2022, just know that this is going to be my last episode for a little while. And I promise I will be back. I'm hoping to come back in August of this year. But I've really gotten to the point with the podcast where as much as I love it, as much as I love getting feedback from you guys, I just feel like I need a little bit of a break. Because work is picking up and things are just getting a little hectic. We have a lot of weddings coming up over the next few months. And I just had this moment of reflection earlier this week where I realized we are traveling so much and there's so much going on in our lives that it started to feel like I was showing up to the podcast and having to do it out of necessity or in order to maintain my podcast schedule, as opposed to showing up in a way of wanting to provide value and wanting to bring something to you guys that is going to help you throughout your lives, throughout your week. And I don't want to approach this podcast from that energy. I don't want to be coming to this podcast from the perspective of, I have to do this. And I feel like because the podcast, for the past few months anyway, has become more of a have to do from a scheduling perspective, I feel like I've lost a little bit of my spark lately. And I don't know if you guys are picking up on that or not, but it's definitely something I'm feeling while I'm doing the recordings. And so if you are picking up on that, or if you have noticed that there's been a little bit of a slower energy maybe, then I appreciate your patience and also my apologies. I think I just need to take a step back for a sec and also just do some soul searching on where I want this podcast to go in the future. And here's what I mean by that. When I first started off this podcast, obviously I wanted to talk all about manifestation, and I still do because I freaking love it. But also, I started off the podcast with a very specific mission in mind, and that was to really talk about manifestation sans spirituality, or with spiritual light applied to it, if you will. And for the most part, obviously I've gone into spirituality a couple times with it, but I feel like I have tried to stay more on the logical side of it majority of the time, or the practical applications. And I will always do that. That's always something I love doing with manifestation. But I've gotten to the point where now I feel as though I've narrowed myself into talking only about manifestation, that I haven't really allowed myself to go into some of these other topics that I'm also equally interested and passionate about on the spiritual side. And it's because I put those blinders on initially where I said, I'm not going to talk as much about spirituality. That's not what I want to focus on. And I think that was great for where I was when I started the podcast. And I feel like now I've started to transition a little bit more into incorporating spirituality so much in my own life that it's hard for me to leave that out of the podcast. So I'm taking this pause, one, because I need a little bit of a mental break. Two, because I really want to be I want to be showing up on the podcast excited and energetic, and I think you guys deserve that energy from me. Three, I want to use this time to get creative about new ideas I can bring to you. So not just manifestation, but what are some other things I'm passionate about that I could show up on the show with, that I can bring to you guys in the show that might be of interest to you. And yes, it may or may not directly apply to manifestation, but I feel like as I talk about this identity and the people we are becoming starts to then be our manifestation, I think that permeates into absolutely everything. And hopefully the idea of me taking on more spiritual concepts or more spiritual ideas into the podcast I hope that's not triggering for you, because myself 2 years ago would have been triggered by the idea of introducing spirituality into any podcast I was doing. Primarily because, and if you've tuned in long enough, you probably know this about me, I have my own hangups with religion, and I often transferred that to spirituality as well. Or conversely, whenever I thought about spirituality, I had this idea of what that person looked like. I was like, oh, a spiritual person is very flowy and soft, and they do yoga, and they're super sweet all the time, and they speak in a softer tone. And, that was kind of like the idea of someone that I had in my mind that was spiritual. And I don't fit that mold. I have a lot more of the masculine energy to me, and I've never felt like I've identified with that quote unquote spiritual term. But I'm getting to a place where I'm figuring out what my spirituality looks like and how it's integrated. And I can't help but feel like as you really start getting into manifestation, you start going deeper and deeper and deeper. Spirituality just presents itself. It's almost like the gateway to spirituality, if you will. And that's really what it was for me, because I was very anti-religion for a long time. In my life, I've been atheist at one point. I've been Christian at one point. I have been agnostic at one point. Now I don't really know exactly what I am, other than I do call myself spiritual. And for a long time, I didn't talk about that on this podcast either, because I didn't want to feel like I was falling into that like new age, and I hate to use that term, but that more woo-woo spiritual kind of trendy talk, if you will. So if you are someone that's like, I really don't know if I want spirituality incorporated, totally cool. Maybe check out a few of my future episodes and just see if it's for you. See if it's totally a turnoff or if it's something you might be open-minded to. But I honestly feel like this is just the direction I need to take the podcast moving forward, and I feel like it's going to really help me figure out why I keep getting burnt out with the current topics. And I think it's just really because I'm not diving into this side that I'm actually really passionate about right now. And that incongruency, that disconnect, if you will, is causing me to feel separated, is causing me to feel burnt out. And I think that happens when we don't honor that the things that we're passionate or the things that cause us to get excited. When those things are missing, that's when it's easier for us to get burned out. And so I'm looking at everything that I've been doing lately, and while I love the manifestation topics, I think the variety and being able to bring in other things related to spirituality, but maybe not are super manifestation specific, are only going to help you guys have a more well-rounded view of what manifestation is, and hopefully give you new manifestation ideas too, or at least different ways in which you can approach it. So that is all I have for you guys today. Is I just wanted to come up and say, hey, this is what's going on with the podcast. Here's what to expect. You will be hearing from me again in a few months. I'm going to use this time to rewrite new episodes, to think through what this schedule is going to be moving forward, how much of spirituality is going to be incorporated, what topics I might be interested in, what guests I might be interested in. So now is a good time for you to message me on Instagram as well. So that's where I'm hopefully going to show up more while I'm not on the podcast. So hit me up on DMs. Let me know if there's something that is on your heart, if there's a podcast episode you've been dying to hear about. Some of you already have, and I do plan to incorporate those topics into the future schedule. But yeah, would love to hear from you. Would love to hear what your thoughts are on me taking this shift. Again, it's still going to be manifestation focused, but with more of a dose of a stronger dose, I guess, of spirituality in there than what's previously been. So while I'm not going to lie, I'm terrified to take this break because for so many reasons. Just know that I am going to come back, and I'm excited to see what direction this goes in next. I can't wait to have a new energy coming onto the podcast. And I appreciate all of you guys for being understanding and for just hearing where I'm at. And I look forward to bringing more content to you at the end of the summer. So summer 2022, Brie is taking a break. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Have a fantastic rest of your summer. And I promise I will catch y'all again on a future Monday. So bye for now, but not bye for forever. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, hit subscribe so you can stay up to date with new episodes. As always, we would love it if you would share this episode with friends and family who could use the inspiration. As a new podcast show, we would really appreciate your honest feedback so I know what you like and what you could use more of. As a thank you for leaving us a rating, we will send you our 7 weekly tips to create space for abundance. Make sure you screenshot your review and email it to us at hello@themodernmanifestation.com so we can send them straight to your inbox. If you'd like to stay connected, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Modern Manifestation, or you can head to our website at themodernmanifestation.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I will catch y'all in the next episode.